Check it out, guys. I made this custom airbox for the Voodoo Banshee. Well, technically, I didn't make this. I actually made it. It was a group effort with me and a couple of my friends. We made it at a machine shop. So actually, it was a pretty sweet process. So I'm going to take you back and I'll show you how we did it. All right, guys. So check it out. I went to my buddy's machine shop called Stouts Customs in Ottsville, Pennsylvania, and we worked together to make this custom airbox. The first thing we're making here is the rear bracket to hold the box in place. Shane's hooking it up. We're making a mount. We're making the mounting tab for the airbox on a water jet. We just designed it on the computer. So this machine literally uses super high water pressure mixed in with a media, almost like a sandblast type of material, and it will blast right through the metal. We're using 1/10 of an inch thick aluminum right here, and you'll see it cuts it out no problem. But they told me that this thing can shoot through up to 6 inches of solid steel, which is absolutely incredible. I thought it was gonna be like splashing water all over the place. Wow. Dude, that's unbelievable. That is unbelievable. That would take me like 2 hours to cut out, and it would not be as nice. Wow. Shane, you ever put your hand in there?
Not yet. I don't want to try either.
I'm mocking this up right now. Shane's about to tack it. Shane's a savage with a welder. Just remember, there's gas all over this thing. It's supposed to smoke, but not that much. Once we made the bracket for the back of the airbox, the next step was a little bit more involved. What we're cutting out here is the intake bracket. So this is the actual intake portion that goes right up to the carburetors. And the reason we're doing this in the first place is because the plastic portion on the OEM style airbox just didn't line up properly. So this will have all the corrected angles and it should be pretty nice. There it is. Airbox mounting plate. Shane. Master machinist and fabricator. We're making all kinds of stuff today. To make the intake tubes, I used an intercooler kit. This is the same kit that I used to make the snorkels on the Maverick, and it worked out perfectly. And it's actually gonna have better airflow than the stock system as well.
I think we can make it work though.
Bring the right side pipe up to match. So you're.
Oh yeah, duh.
You're on the bench.
Yeah. Because I think that it. These 3 witness marks will all line up.
It's quite nice.
People are gonna want to buy my airbox. You're gonna have to see this guy.
Should have better flow than stock. This is the stock one.
It's like a brick wall.
Yeah, the air runs right into that wall. This has a nice divider.
Once all the bike marks are smooth.
And it's lighter. Actually, probably not. Probably about the same.
I think that was my pants.
This fucking duct.
Alright, Mr. Shane? Yeah, I'm good. 3, 2, 1.
Yeah, dude. And you're not paying much.
Tabs are in the back, so you don't even have to take the plastics off. Go right underneath, take the bolts out, you can slide the box. We literally engineered this so that it's easy for tuning. So huge thank you to Stouts Customs, my buddy Shane, and also my buddy Matt, also known as Mechanical Hulk. Between the four of us, we probably spent about 10 hours getting this thing together. This video clip is really quick. A lot of planning and design went into this, and we also had a couple prototypes until we finally had a design that fit up perfectly. Yeah, so as you can see, I mean, it turned out really nice. When I got it home, I used my porting tools and just smoothed out the inside, all the welds and everything, so it's just got really, really good airflow, nice smooth transitions, and then I just gave it a nice coat of matte black. I think it looks really good. That corrected all of the angles, and it fits up really perfectly. Really, really happy with the way that it fits in the back, because my frame does not have the tabs that are normally back here. I shaved those off for this airbox, and it makes it really easy to service it and just slide the airbox right to the back. In fact, I'm going to install it with you guys. I'll show you how this goes in. Give you guys a close look at this thing before I go putting it in. I've got yamaha bond on both sides sealing this up. This is a unit that'll probably, I mean, I don't ever intend to separate this, so it's all sealed up. Should be really good. It's made of 6061 aluminum, and this intake, this duct here, that's actually an eBay part. It's like a copy of the Pro design for the K&N style filters, but they're plastic, which is actually what I wanted. I feel like that's a little bit lighter than the billet aluminum. And then in the back here, got some stainless steel hardware, the low profile. So a super big thank you to Matt and Shane for letting me use the machine shop there and helping me out. Matt did a ton of the welding and everything. He did pretty much everything. Really, really appreciate it. It came out really nice. All right, now I'm hoping that you guys can see how this goes in. It literally just slides right in the back like so. Go right around our wire harness, which that I think I may extend or do something about that because it kind of gets in the way. But it literally just fits into place like so. It fits right in the boots, and I'm going to take you around the back to show you how it bolts up. So from the back, it's going to use these two existing points on the frame, and literally it slides right into place like that. And then you can pull, all you got to do is take those bolts off, and the box just pulls right out, which that should make it really easy for jetting. Now this is the V1, so there's some improvements that could definitely be made. I think the most cumbersome thing is getting the airbox clips up top before you push it in. And realistically, I may not even use the airbox lid, but once they're up, it's no problem. Boom. And I just throw my bolts in place. And even if you had a different exhaust, you could always just stack the exhaust on top of it. It wouldn't be quite as clean, but you know, anytime you do something like this, it's a custom setup for, you know, that specific machine. All we got to do now is tighten up the boots, and the airbox is installed. Oh, and the other thing I did, I wish I would have showed this before. There's little rubber bumpers in between the box and that shock mount. You can see the box is resting on the rubbers. So with that setup, there should be no excessive wear from, you know, the box jumping up and down when you're hitting whoops and stuff, putting stress on the boots. It should be a nice solid setup. You can see how it fits in there. Really nice clean design. You can get the airbox lid on there. Even if you wanted to run a regular lid, you could do that. And I believe it's pretty much in the OEM spot. You can see the little cutouts in the plastic for the tabs. Now we can put our filter in here. And honestly, you could run it like that just fine without the lid, but I'm gonna put the lid on there at least for now. We're going like really overkill with the air filtration here. I don't think this is necessary. This lid it's pretty heavy. It was expensive too. It was like 115 bucks or something. I don't know if I would recommend or get this again. I mean, I'm sure that it works. It just seems really overkill, and it makes it a little bit difficult to fit everything in here. It's a tight setup for sure. And then there's actually an outerwear that goes on top of this as well. It's a lot to clean too when you come back. It does look pretty sweet though, I gotta say. And now I don't have to worry about sucking up water on the trails, because I've had that happen before and it's no fun. Oh yeah. All right, here we go. We're gonna go for our first little test ride here. This will be like a little tune session. Still running on pump gas. So we'll see how she stays, how the power curve is and everything. I think it's still a little bit peaky. I'm basically right now maxed out for dome size, like the smallest I can go. And still, it's like borderline safe for pump gas right now. So we'll see how it goes. And it's just gonna be cruising today. This is also the first time riding on my, I guess, new shoulder. So I had a full rotator cuff repair in December, about a little over 5 months ago. So we'll see how that feels today too. So we'll be riding with Jay today. If you guys followed the channel like way back in the day, Jay's been around for a while. He's like one of my longest riding buddies, longest time, I guess. He's on an RMZ 450 today. Jay's a really good guy. He's always got me laughing. Well, I can tell. Oh yeah. That's the most I've had it opened up yet, man. Woo! Man, does that pull. I feel bad for Jay. This thing probably roosts really bad. So down low, it's still not great. You can hear when the power band kicks in. But up top, it's like crazy. And I'm hoping that I can sort that out with some race gas and a little bit of timing. I'll let Jay go ahead. I'm gonna roost you out so bad. You go. Man, I think the tires are breaking loose really bad too. This is all like, we're in coal country right now. So a lot of like stone and shale and stuff. And it can be kind of hard to hook up. A lot of sliding. And it can beat you up really bad too. Shit, dude. Man. Man, does this thing pull. God damn.
Sounds great. Woo, Jay's red in a roost. So suspension is done by Rocket Ron. Got the Fox Float 3 in the front and a custom, it's a Raptor 660 shock in the back with Elka dual linkage. Standard travel, stock length A-arms, -1 MX swing arm, and about stock width axle too. It might be like a +1. There's a couple sinkholes around here, like here's one right here. Just gotta look out for stuff like that. Man, you just give it a little bit of a clutch pump. Just feather the clutch a little bit, man, and whoo! Gets right up in that power band. It feels great. My God, this thing throws you back, man. As soon as that power band hits. Oh! God damn, dude, that roost. It really just wants to be wide open. I mean, like, it runs okay down low, but up top, it just, you can tell it's right at home. Don't gotta worry about mud anymore. This is what I wanted, man. Mud and water, no problem. Woo! God, this thing really hauls, dude. As soon as you start getting comfortable on it and giving it more and more gas, it still wants to get away from you. Oh, I kind of want to go through there, but I don't know. This is a cool section. It gets pretty tight. Another thing that I wanted this quad to be good for is getting through tight sections and stuff. Definitely in these sections you can feel more like that you can use. Whoa, holy shit, that was really deep. But yeah, you can feel like the it's a little bit down on torque for that. pretty rocky. Suspension feels good. I've popped tires right on this specific stretch before. I think I was actually, the last time I popped a tire there was on the 250R. Whoa, jeez. Woo! You can hear those DRW skid plates taking a beating, man. Oh, man. Wow, I just lost a chain. My chain popped off. Holy shit. Oh my God. The sprocket just sheared off. Holy shit. Whoa. That is a first. Or they just came loose. They ripped out. Whoa. The only thing that would get me home right now is through bolts. Wow. I mean, at least that's like, of all failures, I guess that's not that bad, but how the hell am I gonna get back to the truck? I wonder if just smacking a rock super hard just sheared those bolts. Look at this one. Whew. They're titanium, but it looks like it just ripped the aluminum right out. Or maybe some of them backed out, so, you know, whatever ones were left just couldn't hold it. Oh, damn. Well, I'm glad the motor didn't blow up. Not too bad. I think of all things to break, a sheared off sprocket is, it just is what it is. I'm gonna have to, I don't know what's good and what's bad back there, what needs to be replaced. But I think I need to do some reinforcing for sure. Here's a section of the rocks right here. This is like the kind of stuff that we've been riding for the day, but like stuff like this, I don't know, that's, I don't know, like a 10-inch tall rock. They're all over the place, and those things smack up against that skid plate guard and, or the rotor guard, and like rocks like that and stuff. And so I'm thinking maybe one of those just took it out. Well guys, we've got our first casualty on our hands with the Voodoo Banshee, and I have to say, I'm very happy that the engine is still running great. But check this out, man. There's just nothing we can do about that, unfortunately. I think my only savior would be if I could get some through bolts, which I just don't have handy right now. And I could probably make that work to finish out the day of riding. But, you know, it just is what it is. And I would say it's probably a combination of either some of these bolts backing out and then the other half of them shearing off, or possibly all of them just shearing off. I'm not 100% sure, but regardless, it runs really, really good. I got a solid hour of riding in, and it performs great. We're still with the 19cc domes right now, so we're running pump gas, and it really feels good in the trails. It's making really, really good power. When I was riding it at home, you know, like around the house and stuff, it's just, you can't get it into the RPMs and stuff, so it just felt lousy. Like if you can't get it up into the RPMs, it really doesn't have too much down low. But once you can open it up and get the wheels spinning and stuff, and it's in that sweet spot with the power band, man, it runs really good. So I would say that realistically, you can build an Alpha Cub Banshee and run it on pump gas and still have a very, I don't know if I want to say like well-mannered trail machine, but manageable. It's not so bad that it's like you've got that night and day power where, you know, there's nothing down low and so much power up top. It is manageable. So that I'm pretty happy with. So I'll slowly start taking the dome size down, up the compression. I want to up the timing a little bit. I'm just going to play with that, and that's basically the name of the game with this thing. Just tuning it and dialing this thing in. We'll see how much power we can get out of this thing. And airbox worked great. I hit plenty of puddles today, and we didn't have any bogging out or anything where, you know, it seemed like we were sucking up water. No issues at all, man. Awesome airbox. I'm really happy about that. It's just a shame. I would have liked to get some more riding time in today. Like I said, I think we got about an hour today out on the trails, but man, it really does run great. And I will say, for a good portion of this, I was actually aiming for the rocks because I want to test this stuff out. So I really like putting things to the test. So I was actually picking the lines that had most of the rocks and stuff, which, I don't know, maybe that wasn't such a good idea.
Man, I'm starting to think that maybe I didn't give enough credit to that rock section and just how brutal those rocks are. Now that everything's clean, I've kind of had a chance to look over and assess the damage, and man, it definitely took some damage, not just in the areas that we noticed, but like, check this out. I mean, these are, that's just, you see this is all bent down here. Here, both of where the Nerf bars hook in are just smashed, and then it pulled the whole peg. It bent that whole thing down. These are really solid steel heavy-duty pegs. They're reinforced in the middle. I don't know what this is, like 3/16 inch thick steel, I think. But they're not poorly made pegs. They're really strong, made by Wicked Metal Designs. And the fact that those bent, that is crazy. So I think, you know, these, I don't really think this is like a bad design for the Nerf bars, but these hanging down so low, I think, you know, rocks it just smashed against that, and I guess it had some leverage being that this is lower, and man, that really put a whooping on that. You can see this whole thing is twisted, and you know, I can probably bend that back, or I mean, you could really just leave it like that. It's going to function just fine, but it just goes to show how these rocks were hitting. And then look at this. This one portion of the skid plate on the Alka linkage just straight up ripped off, which I'm not too happy about, but I mean, what are you going to do? That's pretty brutal, man. I also noticed that the disc, I don't know if you guys can see that, but it's slightly bent. So I don't know if a rock came in sideways or something, or if this just flexed so hard and it bent. I mean, there's a big gash. I don't know if you guys can see that right here. If you look up under this side, you can see it right there. I think that may have done it in kind of like a, you know, a sideways smack with a rock. So man, you know, that rear end just really took some heavy blows. I really don't know how I feel about this. You know, I'm all for throwing my stuff to the wolves and, you know, really giving it a full-blown test to see how durable it is, but I think picking the rockiest lines and literally aiming for the big rocks was probably just straight up mean to this quad. Luckily, everything else seems to be okay. I can't show you the belly skid really because it's on the stand, but I did look at it before I put it up, and the belly skid didn't really take much damage at all. I think because the rear end is the lowest portion, and you know, when you're flying and your suspension's going and stuff, the pegs actually get pretty close to the ground too. I think because those areas are so low, that's why they took all the heat. The rest of the quad, honestly, didn't take any damage at all. I mean, it shouldn't have. I only probably had like an hour riding on the rocks, but in that short amount of time, you really, you can accrue some damage, there's no doubt. But everything else looks really good. Airbox definitely gets the win. I have the cover off right now. I cleaned that up. That thing was actually really dirty. I didn't have to clean the filter. I think that filter up top makes a big difference. So definitely happy with that. So I'm gonna pull this off and let's assess the damage here. I'm starting to think that these didn't shear off. I think they backed out because most of these still have threads. A couple of them, you can see like this one, it started to rip out a little bit. This one a little bit. That one looks okay. This one it ripped out. So I think what happened is they backed out and it was just done for. But, you know, this is definitely partially my fault. This is not, I wouldn't say this was like a DRW issue or Boss Racing or anything. I think that I assembled this kind of in an incorrect way. So I'm going to pull this off. I'll show you how I had it assembled and how I'm going to do it this time. I think it'll be a lot stronger. You know, realistically, this is the best way to figure out the weak links on a machine. Really to learn, period. As anybody that follows this channel probably knows that the best way that I learn is through experience. So I did do some research, and the bolts that I had used on that rear assembly, they're titanium. A lot of the bolts are titanium on this. This was kind of like my first go about with titanium. And after doing a little bit more research, titanium does have about the same strength as steel, but it doesn't have the same properties in shear strength and yield strength and stuff like that. So in terms of shear strength, steel would be stronger here. So that could have something to do with it. I also think that this poly piece may have compressed a little bit, making those bolts come loose. I'm not 100% sure, but I think the whole setup I could improve. So I guess what I'm trying to say here is that even though we had some casualties, I can learn from it, and now I can make stronger machines in the future. Wow. All right, so we're all cleaned up. Here is our sprocket hub. You can see the face of this took a beating, probably when the chain actually came off, just spinning around there like crazy. Unfortunately, such a nice piece, but at least that's just an appearance thing. Now, after looking at this a little bit closer, I'm beginning to think that the bolts just came loose and the remaining ones ripped out, because there are threads in all of these. You can see some of these are actually perfect. Like that one right there has no damage. That one there ripped out just at the top. Ripped out at the top, no damage. Ripped out at the top, no damage. So it looks like 50-50. And the dead giveaway is this, man. I don't see any Loctite in there. So I think what happened is I legitimately just forgot to Loctite this thing. You know, when you're doing a full build, there's, you know, so many bolts on there, and I guess I meant to red Loctite these, and I never did, so I forgot. Now, so chances are, like if it did back out, it probably would have been fine. Now, using the titanium hardware, this is the only one that survived. Well, it's here, but it's dead. But I don't think they would have broken, but what I said before is true. Steel is going to have better shear strength, and it's just going to be stronger overall, although titanium is very close in second. I was just so obsessed with the weight savings on this build that, you know, I was doing every little thing that I possibly could, and the way that I stacked these, I put the sprocket on, and then I had these aluminum spacers that went in between. And that was basically just so that the chain would have enough space for the chain on the sprocket and the guard, and then I put the guard right on top and put the bolts straight through everything. So I didn't have like a nut right up against this sprocket, you know, sandwiching it against the hub, which would be really strong, and kind of just a bad idea to begin with. And I ran with it. I really shouldn't have, but you know, you live and you learn. And then the other thing is, I think this the DRW case saver, or sprocket saver rather, this did not necessarily fail, but it looks like it squeezes a little bit, this UHMW plastic, and that could have made, you know, that little bit of flex in there could have made the tension on the bolts come loose a little bit, you know, something like that. So I just think it will be safe doing a different design. Have a look at the sprocket. Sprocket is in perfect shape. Some people thought that the sprocket failed because it's aluminum. It wasn't actually that, but I could see the sprocket taking a nice dent after the beating that the rest of this took. But with the exception of just the little bits that ripped out from the bolts, sprocket is in good shape. And I'll give you a look at the edge of the DRW. I don't really think this unit failed. It just got knocked off. You can see right there is a little bit of a flat spot. That might have been the one that did it in. But really, this did not fail. It was the way that I had the hardware on there. So I've got some 10.9 bolts. What I'm going to do is, instead of coming through the top, I'm going to come through the back like a stud. And since some of these are missing a few threads, I could just thread in a stud and you know, do it that way, red Loctite it. But this is going to be stronger by actually having the head of the bolt on the back side. So I'm going to clean these up, and then I'm going to thread these in, red Loctite them, and we'll put everything on top, stacking it. And I'm going to use dedicated nuts specifically for the sprocket. So we'll put the sprocket on there, put a nut, then we'll put this on there, and then this will get its own nut as well. And I'm also going to put little sleeves inside this UHMW, so that since it does compress with these little collars in here, it won't be able to compress down, and that way it'll never come loose. First things first, I'm just going to clean up the little bit of messy aluminum here. I want to make sure that the sprocket is sitting nice and flush against this hub. All right, I'm going to put my red Loctite on here. First thing, just going to go up at the top where the threads are actually going to sit in the sprocket hub. And I already measured the clearances behind the sprocket hub because the, you know, these little button heads are going to stick up. There's plenty of clearance back there. Now we can slide our sprocket in place. Now I'll go around, put a little bit more red Loctite where the nuts will go. And we can still do a little bit of bling here. We'll use titanium nuts for these separation ones that go right between the sprocket and the sprocket guard. These we're not going to have any issues with. And we'll save a little bit of weight at least. Now that is going to be super strong. Those will not shear off. I think the sprocket would break before anything. Now for these, I'm going to drill them out a little bit larger to fit those collars. Now we'll put a washer on top of each of these. And I'm going to use a little bit more Loctite. Go in really overkill with this. And then Nylox to top it off. So this is really pretty redundant with you know, all anti-vibration or vibration protection. This better not fall off. All right, there it is. This should never come off again. You can see those studs were just long enough to make it through the Nylox. We've got the red Loctite on there. Red Loctite on the center nuts. So even if somehow this guard comes off, it still would have to get past the nuts on the inside too. They can't rip out because we've got the bolt heads on this side. Got red Loctite on those threads as well. This thing, we do grade 10.9 steel hardware, stainless steel nuts with Nylox, titanium nuts in the center. I don't think we're not gonna have any problems there. All right, let's get this thing back on there. This thing's never gonna be a problem again. All right, man, we are saved. Everything is good to go now. Order is restored. And I don't think this will ever break now. This is really the way I should have done it the first time around. But again, guys, it's a learning experience. I'll know better for next time. I've also got the Nerf bar off and the heel guard on this side. I straightened out the peg pretty good on this side. And I'm gonna see if I can straighten out the Nerf bar as well before I put that back on. But otherwise, oh, and I'm gonna do the disc also. There's no rolling resistance, but you can see it's bent. So I'm gonna see if I can just straighten that out a little bit. If I can't, honestly, it's really not that big of a deal, but that does bother me a little bit. You know what, man? That's what we do here at Basket Case Garage. We take something it's not working properly, and we just make it better. So we've improved the overall design of the Voodoo Banshee. The whole idea is to make it a bulletproof trail machine. So, you know, the airbox, I think we're good to go. We're never gonna have to worry about splashes or anything like that, or any kind of like water getting into the carburetors. But the undercarriage is also one of those trail quad things, you know, going over big roots, heavy rocks and stuff like that. We want it to be bulletproof on the underside. So that's one step closer. I think we could still make it better, but that's where we're gonna leave it today, guys. We're gonna have to bump up the compression and see how this thing handles with race gas in it. Hopefully we can get a little bit better torque out of it, a little bit better of a curve, and not have that kind of like light switch effect like you get with a lot of two-strokes, especially with the Yamaha Banshee. And we'll have to take it from there. But until then, guys, I will see you in the next video. Please give me a thumbs up if you enjoyed this video. Also consider subscribing if you want to see more content like this. And if you're looking to support the channel even further, there is the option to join. All channel members get guaranteed responses to their comments. I love all you guys. I'll see you in the next video. Peace out.